Welcome back, fans, to another episode of the ECHL Insider. I am your host, Garrett Hunter, and with only 2 weeks remaining in the regular season as we head into April, the playoff race has reached a fever pitch. Crazy playoff implications this week, teams vying for their spots in the postseason. We will get to that in just a second. But before we do, the pucks that you see in front of me, those are the 5 franchises that have clinched their spot in the Kelly Cup playoffs this past week, being the Wheeling Nailers, Orlando Solar Bears, Kansas City Mavericks, Fort Wayne Comets, and Iowa Heartlanders. Special congratulations to the Heartlanders. This is their 4th season in the ECHL and their first playoff appearance. Those fans have been waiting 4 long years in Coralville for this moment. And just really special that they got to clinch the playoffs on home ice in an overtime loss, actually, against Wichita on Sunday afternoon. Well, some other important scores from last week for you. The South Carolina Stingrays continued to be red hot as they traveled to Michigan to play the Kalamazoo Wings, beating them 4-1 and 7-1 in back-to-back meetings. Not what you want if you're a Kalamazoo fan now. 6 straight losses and 3 points back of that 4th and final playoff spot. It will be hard for the Kalamazoo Wings now to make the playoffs. They have to jump over both the Bloomington Bison and Indy Fuel as the road from here gets a lot harder for the Wings. Also, the critical matchups in South Florida last week. We talked about in our last episode the Kelly Cup final rematch from a few years ago, Walleye and Everblades, and boy, did it live up to the hype. Walleye taking round 1 on Friday night, 1-0. Just a really good defensive performance, really, from both those teams. Just 1 goal in the back of the net the whole 60 minutes. That was pretty impressive to see. But then the Everblades respond on Saturday night, as you would think, a 3-2 win over this Walleye team. And I was impressed by the Walleye, actually, in these back-to-back games. Hostile road environment, kind of a precursor to the playoffs, right? Obviously, it's against Florida. We know what they've done the past few seasons. But going into a hostile environment, playoff-type atmosphere, you want to have experience like that before you go on the road to a playoff atmosphere in a few weeks. So definitely a good experience for the Walleye to get under their belt. And finally, the Bloomington Bison and Fort Wayne Comets played a crucial game in the Central Division last week. Comets picking up a 3-2 win, and that put them over the edge to clinch a playoff spot. Well, with that, let's get to our top 5 games of the week. All 5 of these games, huge playoff implications, so we will start at the top at number 5. The Reading Royals going on the road to West Banco Arena to play the Nailers Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Royals just 1 point back of the Railers for the final playoff spot in the North Division. These are just 3 critical games. You know, Wheeling just clinched a playoff spot. You know these aren't going to come easy if you want these points for the Royals. And, you know, Reading on Wednesday, they play Norfolk, who is close to clinching a playoff spot. Then they play Wheeling 3 games, who's clinched a playoff spot. So difficult opponent to get points from, but critical points for the Reading Royals. They have big matchups with the Railers next week. So definitely just important, though, for Reading to get these points. Worcester plays Adirondack this week, so Reading fans will be watching those games closely as well, I could imagine. And at number 4, the Indy Fuel play their in-state rival, the Fort Wayne Comets, back-to-back nights. Friday will be in Fort Wayne. Saturday will be a home game for the Fuel, and again, critical points for the Indy Fuel to pick up. They are tied for the 4th and final playoff spot with the Bloomington Bison in the Central Division, and you have to have these points, right? Disappointing road trip in Adirondack last week. You get shut out twice. That was just a rough go for them. They needed those points to take the lead for 4th place, but still tied, though. You know, that's the good point. You're still tied, right? You're right there, but these are 2 games against an in-state rival. You've got to get points out of these games to hopefully take a lead over the Bloomington Bison if you're the Fuel. And at number 3, the Wichita Thunder and Tulsa Oilers will go at it Friday night. These teams both in playoff position. Wichita in 3rd place, Tulsa in 4th place, but separating them is just 1 point. Very, very critical game. And right behind them is the Steelheads, 3 points back of the Oilers. So both of these teams aren't safe yet. They haven't clinched a playoff spot. Got to win a few more games at least to be able to officially clinch the playoffs. Both of these teams in pretty good standing, but you lose a couple games and Idaho has success, you could be on the outside looking in. Both of these teams have been in playoff position almost the entire season, but things have definitely gotten closer in the Mountain Division over the past few weeks. So definitely looking in the rearview mirror a little bit if you're Wichita or Tulsa. So you want to pick up a win in regulation right here. Get 2 more points if you're the Thunder or the Oilers Friday night. And at number 2 in the South Division, the Orlando Solar Bears and South Carolina Stingrays will go at it one last time this season on Saturday night, but it might not be their last matchup. This likely a first-round playoff matchup in the South Division. All spots have been clinched in the South Division. Orlando locking up that 4th and final playoff spot Saturday night. So, this could definitely be a preview of what we're going to see in 2 weeks in the first round. South Carolina in 1st place right now by 3 points on the Florida Everblades. Solar Bears, unlikely that they'll move up to the 3rd place spot in the South Division. Still possible that could happen, but very likely that we will see Solar Bears and Stingrays in the first round. So this will be a very, very good game to watch. See how the Solar Bears play it. They would be the lower seed going to this building to start the series if they play in the playoffs. So very, very interesting. In South Carolina, we've talked a lot about them. 13 straight games they've won. They showed it last week going to a Kalamazoo team who needed points, right? They were in playoff mode, right? And they just got blown out. 7-1 and 4-1. We talked about it. This South Carolina team, extremely dangerous right now offensively. They have just exposed a lot of teams in the past few weeks with their offensive superstars. So definitely a big matchup between them and the Solar Bears on Saturday night. And our top game of the week, the Idaho Steelheads and Tulsa Oilers on Sunday night. If the Steelheads want to make the playoffs, you almost have to win this game against the Oilers. Steelheads just 3 points back of Tulsa for the 4th place spot in the Mountain Division. But Idaho, you have Kansas City coming to town next week for your final 3 games. You have to win this game. A regulation loss would put you 5 points back of the Oilers, and you can only pick up 6 points next week if you win all games against Kansas City, which that in and of itself will be a very hard task. So Idaho, you got to beat Tulsa on Sunday if you want a good chance at making the playoffs. In Tulsa, you don't want to give the Steelheads any chance, right? You want to beat Wichita Friday, beat the Steelheads Sunday, go clinch a playoff spot, and leave nothing to question next week. But it will definitely be hard. Steelheads will be in playoff mode. This will be a playoff game for the Steelheads. If they want to move on, they have to beat the Oilers almost on Sunday afternoon. Well, now make sure to check out our fight of the week, Indy and Adirondack. Things got wild between these two teams on Friday night. Big scrap in the corner. I mean, you could just see the penalty box is starting to fill up at the end of this game. Just frustration boiling over for the Fuel. You're down 3-0 in a game you need points, and they definitely showed their frustration on Friday night. So make sure to check out that fight of the week and then subscribe to our channel. Next week will be a huge week, the final week of the regular season. So we hope you'll join us for that episode, and make sure to subscribe and like this video so you'll get all our updates on future episodes.
We don't want a funny... Conroy hammered, and here comes Golka. Golka starts swinging away down low, and now everybody's in. Breton grabs a hold of Golka in the corner. Now hammered down to the ice was Conroy. He doesn't like it. Conroy goes after Farmer, who has a full shield on, but Farmer initiated, and Conroy swinging away.
He did initiate, you're right.
Farmer started it, and Conroy trying to finish it. And Farmer goes down.